This species is one of the favorites on all the restaurant menus. And what I love about this fish is its brilliant colors and that it can be caught throughout the state of Florida. The key to catching this fish is lots of chum and patience. We're talking yellowtail snappers here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts right now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello, Floridians, and welcome back to our last week of the 2022 season here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Rick, I cannot believe another one has come and gone, but we've had a lot of good times, great catches in between, including our finale species this week, Yellowtail, and I believe you pronounced the ER in snapper, so I'm going to have you say that again.
Snappers.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. But you know, the yellowtail snapper, as we said at the top there, Brie, can be caught throughout all of the state of Florida, but I assure you, most people that eat snappers or eat yellowtail, it's certainly my favorite of all the snappers because of how clear and clean the meat is and nice thin. It absorbs all the spices.
Exactly. Well, you're making me hungry.
I am.
Joining us and all of our finale things this week is our good friend from Maverick Boat Group and, of course, Dave Farrell at the CCA Workbench. Dave, what are we feeling over there?
Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm
feeling good?
I'm feeling my oats.
Feeling your oats. There you go.
That was off the cuff too.
Yeah.
It was.
That wasn't even scripted.
That was beautiful. That's why you're here.
I'm very quick.
Most stuff that Dave does is not scripted.
He's very quick. All right, well, there's no better place than the Yanmar ISB Keys region to talk yellowtail. And with that, Captain Sarah, thank you for being an incredible asset to our crew this season. We've enjoyed every bit of your reports. Let's get this finale started.
Thanks. Hey, guys. I'm the Yanmar ISB Keys region, and this area of the Florida is probably one of the top areas that people come to fish for yellowtail. Very popular to target them here in the Keys, and for good reason. There are absolutely tons of them here. They're all over the reef. They're great to eat. They're fun to catch. They're easy to target, too. There's just a ton of them. They're a little challenging, but once you know all the tricks to catching them, it's a really good time. So before you even leave the dock, you should have on your boat chum, sand, and oats. And that's a good mixture to make for your chum slick behind the boat. So you want to anchor in 60 to 90 feet deep and look for good water movement. Use fluorocarbon leader and a small jig head with a small piece of cut bait like shrimp or ballyhoo, or those big yellowtails will happily eat a live pilchard as well. You got to be patient. Sometimes you'll sit there and you'll chum for an hour and before you even get a bite. So patience is important when you're yellowtail fishing for sure. But they're really fun to catch, and they pull hard for their size on light spinning gear like the Penn Battle Reel. That's a good setup. Here's a photo, a little bit of a rare photo of me catching a yellowtail. They're not one of my favorite fish to target because I don't have that patience part. We just talked about it. We'll get there and chum, and it's like first 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, no bites. We got to move on. I don't do yellowtail fishing, but there's a picture of me.
There you go. Well, let's stay offshore. What do you got for us this week?
Yeah, further offshore, if you want to venture out to the swordfish ledges, there's been a good bite this past week. I saw a fish come into the marina a few days ago that weighed 202 pounds. That was a nice one. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are fishing this time of year for them because we have mild weather patterns. Like we get those slick, calm days, a lot of calm winds, and just nice days to go way out there and fish for them. So the best water depth for catching them, targeting them, is anywhere between 15 and 1,800 feet deep. And for bait, we use a whole squid or a mahi or bonito belly strip. And you got to drop that thing all the way to the bottom. And you make long drifts with the current, waiting for that tricky little bite. Back to that nice calm weather I was talking about. So last week, we had one of those slick glass days, and we ventured out to the swordfish grounds on the Shallow Sport X3, which is a 25-foot bay boat. And we went round trip of 75 miles back and forth, there and back. But as you can see from this picture, we had success, and we did catch a fish. He was around 80 pounds.
Cool.
Oh,
and
cool.
I jumped in the water and took that picture.
Wow, that's a brave girl, be getting in the water with those swordie.
He was dead as a doornail, but yes, you gotta make sure that he's not alive when you do that. As you can see from his colors, he was not alive.
Still
It
brave.
ended up being a cool picture. It was sweltering hot that day, but you can see in the picture, you can see the taco sunshade was on the boat. That thing is awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Shade fin at work. All right, let's go inshore.
Inshore, we got the snook, and they love structure. So like mangrove islands, creeks, jetties, down trees, any place like that is a good place to look for them. Live pilchards are preferred bait, but they usually are easy to find and throw a cast net at. Pen spin fisher 3500 with a medium to light action rod is best. With like a 20-pound braid and a few feet of 30-pound mono or fluorocarbon leader and like a 3/0 hook. That's a good snook setup. You'll definitely know when a snook hits your bait. They have a good bite and they're fun to fish. They're fun to fight. And many of them will jump and shake their heads, so you'll feel it. They're just an exciting fish to catch. Here's a photo of a snook caught with Captain Mike Bassett.
Nice. All right, what else we got this weekend, Shore?
Lots of bonefish around. This summer has been just a great bonefish summer. I've pretty much mentioned them in every report over the summer because there's been so many of them. It's just been so nice to see the amount of bonefish that we've seen around the flats this summer. It's been exciting to see like that next generation of fish that are so healthy right now in the Keys. But it's been really hot lately, so it's an early morning or late afternoon bite if you're going to target them. Best bait to use would be like a live shrimp, but a lot of people will go fly fishing for them and catch them that way too. So lots of different options to target them. It's fun for everyone. And here's a photo of a client with a bonefish caught with Captain Jeff Otten.
All right, thank you so much for getting us started on our finale. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats, hot spots from the Florida Keys. He says inshore, good numbers of bonefish around the inshore flats. Look for the fish waking or just swimming in groups or singles and cast ahead of them so that they can swim into your bait. And then offshore, the swordfish bite has been consistent this week. Drop your bait to the bottom in 15 to 1,800 feet of water, and then try to keep your line vertical as your boat drifts with the current, Brie.
A lot easier said than done sometimes.
Yes,
All right, well, now let's take a look at some tournaments coming up in the Florida Keys. First is the Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, where trophies for trout, snook, and redfish are awarded in this annual fundraiser, supporting local vocational scholarships and Take Stock in Children scholarships. Next, we have the Ladies Let's Go Fishing, Fishing Fever, Inshore Offshore Tournament, where female fishing fans immerse themselves in an annual weekend seminar to learn inshore, offshore, bottom, and fly fishing and compete in a tournament designed for beginners. Then is the Isla Mirada All Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship, dubbed the Fall All Tackle. This 3-day challenge attracts energized newcomers to face seasoned veterans in a competition that has taken place since 1970. And finally, the Fall Backcountry Fly Championship Series, where each inch of snook and redfish on fly equals 1 point as anglers compete for the King of the Backcountry Series Grand Champion. For more information on tournaments, visit flakeys.com. All right, in the Fish Bites East region, Yellowtail hang out in 20 to 50 feet of water on the patch reefs where there's less pressure. So let's get with Captain Mike Holliday to get more info. Great season as always, Mike.
Yeah, it's been a fun year. Pretty crazy. The Yellowtail bite is best really on the southern end of my region, but we catch them all the way up through St. Lucie County along the reefs and anywhere from 30 to 100 feet of water. But some of the best action does take place along those patch reefs, like off Peck's Lake or the sand pile off Stewart, or on the artificial reefs and wrecks like the David T or the Halsey. Off Palm Beach and Jupiter, there's good yellowtail ledges in 55 and 85 feet of water. And the standard method of yellowtail fishing is to chum heavily with ground chum, glass minnows, and small pilchers, and then drift the bait back into the chum on a light line. You know, that kind of works best on the shallow areas or places with a light north current. If you're going to chum, if you got too much current, you can drift the reefs using a chicken rig baited with a squid, a piece of fish bites, or small sardines. And the average yellowtail in my region is going to be like 1 to 3 pounds. I have a photo of a yellowtail. Captain Jonathan Earhart sent me this photo of a nice yellowtail his client caught off Stewart. And that fish ate a live pilchard on a jig head. Now, the other thing we have going on this time of the year, the blackfin tuna bites is just starting to fire up. It's in like 150 to 300 feet of water in Palm Beach and Martin counties. What's nice is the fish are outside the range of the sharks, and there's a mix of skipjack tuna in with those blackfins. The smaller fish are on the structure like Push Button Hill, and the larger fish are just randomly out there, pushing on the rips, the edges, the color changes around some of the wrecks that are holding bait. It seems like there's a morning bite and an afternoon bite. That's when the fish are up on the surface. And you want to remember that blackfin tuna tend to be boat shy, so start your day trolling small feathers or ballyhoo shotgun way out behind the boat. You can also set up a drift and put out live chum, or just drift with pilchards or finger mullet, or deploy baits away from the boat on a kite, 30-pound fluorocarbon leader, and just kind of power drift. The average blackfin tuna is going to be 20 to 30 pounds this time of year. I have a photo that Captain Butch Constable of Jupiter sent me. He found that blackfin tuna chewing in 260 feet of water, and that fish ate a live pilchard.
All right, let's go inshore, Buck.
Well, with the new moon, we should see some extreme high tides over the next week. That'll move the mullet to the shoreline, and the snook are going to follow them right to the shore. The higher tides mean more water on the seawalls and docks, so you want to start your day throwing topwater plugs, swimming plugs, saltwater assassin dye dappers, any of those lures in the mullet colors. And then as the day goes on, switch over to a live mullet. And then at night, they're going to move to the lighted docks and bridges, places like the Lake Worth Bridge or the A1A Bridge in Jupiter, the dock line around Hope Sound in the Intercoastal, around Sewell's Point's going to be good. The shoreline that's just inside Fort Pierce Inlet's going to be stacked with fish. You can throw topwater plugs or swimming plugs at night. If it's really windy, an R&R Flarehawk jig is really going to work well. Live mullet's going to work pretty much all the time. And the average snook in my region is going to be like 5 to 15 pounds. But this is when we catch a lot of giant fish. I have a photo of a nice fish. David Nauman of Fort Pierce got that big snook. He was out in his kayak, caught it on a live mullet.
All right, man. Good job there, Hammer. Let's go ahead and take a look at the flounders. What else you got?
Yeah, this is the time of year when the schools of juvenile pilchards and sardines line the shorelines. They get around the bridges. They mix in with the finger mullet schools in tight to shore. And when that bait stacks up in the shallows, you can bet the flounder are going to be on them. The best spots are along the docks and creek mouths, anywhere in the Indian River, and also in the St. Lucie River into some of the creeks, the Jensen Beach Causeway, South Bridge in Fort Pierce. Fort Pierce Inlet's going to have a lot of flounder on it. The fish like to hold around those bait schools, particularly if they're around dock or bridge pilings or closer to shore along rocks. Then they also tend to school up in the same area, so where you catch one, you're likely going to get more. Target the fish with a live finger mullet on a jig head, or put a rubber core sinker just ahead of the bait to get it on the bottom. And you can also fish a saltwater assassin white colored curly tail jig. A fish bites white curly tail jig is another good one. Those are money on those flounder, just crawling along the bottom. Average flounder is going to be 1 to 4 pounds.
All right, Mike, just like we do for the last 25 weeks, this being the 26th, we need to know about the bass. What do you got?
Yeah, all the rain we've had over the last weekend, it's really dropped the water temperature on Lake Okeechobee. That's kind of helping the midday bass bite, but it's still that summertime pattern. You want to be on the water in the dark, fishing by 6:30, looking for gulls diving or school bass busting shad, either in the boat trails or on the edges of the Kissimmee grass patches, places like Cochran's Pass and Whidden's Cove. There's also been some school bass at the mouth of the Kissimmee River. Start your day throwing an all-white spinner bait, a lipless crankbait, topwater plug, or Bass Assassin Vapor Shad, or a dye dapper in the shad colors. That's going to be money. And then until about 8 o'clock. And maybe a little later if it's overcast. Then it's time to break out the creature baits and flip the isolated bulrushers, or work an 8 to 10 inch Texas rig June bug colored worm. Work that on the outside grass lines. The live shiner bite's been picking up in those same area where the bass have been schooling early in the morning. And it's like a 15 to 25 fish morning. Average bass 1 to 4 pounds, but there's plenty of 5, 6, 7 pound fish right now.
All right, bud, thanks for starting us off on our appreciate it. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the T&H Marine hotspots from the East region. Mike says that the tarpon and the snook and the big amber Jackson flounder at the South Jetty and Fort Pierce use swimming plugs, live mullet, and white curly-tailed jigs. And then offshore, mangrove snappas in 65 to 80 feet of water off of Fort Pierce. Sardines, cigar minos, or fish bites are going to be your best bet for those snappas.
The snappas, there we go. You said it right this time.
Okay,
all right, moving further into the off-season, we're getting the Yellowtail report from your Startron Central West region. But first, Dave is sharing some super super secret yellowtail info for Academy Sports and Outdoors, rigs and techniques at the CCA workbench. Super secret.
They can't be that secret if I know it, for one thing.
Hey.
But we were talking a little bit about some stuff from R&R Tackle tonight, because he makes some really cool little jigs for yellowtail snappers.
Super secret.
Super
There we have it.
secret. They're brand new.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. SiriusXM Marine. Weather, fish mapping, entertainment. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Real Legends. Everything you need to live life local. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Stiffy, innovators in shallow water performance. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques with my man Dave Farrell.
The last one of the year.
What are you going to do for the next 6 months, Dave?
I don't know.
Call me.
Sit on my couch and take abuse from the wife. Ain't nothing in the world to make a woman madder than seeing me sitting on the couch for some reason.
I got you.
But anyway, we're talking about yellowtail snapper, and you can follow the yellow brick road all the way to some really good action and some good eating if you get into some yellowtails. And one of the first things you need to look for, you've heard a lot of these people say, is moving water. You got to have a good reef system. They love coral reefs, even if they're deep. But they love coral reefs, and they will be hanging around those reefs. But the current is really important, and that current does two things. It gets your chum dispersed, and it draws all those fish from further away, because
Right.
the chum takes it further away, and they all come. And what you really need more than anything is patience. And Liz said she doesn't have much. It's true. You got to sit there, and once you put that chum out, I learned that with Randy Towle. Once you put that stuff out, you just sit there and BS.
Eat a sandwich.
BS for 30 minutes, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then just let that chum do its job. And then when you see that big golden bloom back there, all those yellowtails get up in a big ball on the surface, that's when you start putting baits out. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to bombard them with you don't want to have everybody on the boat throw a bait out all at once. It's better to work in like pairs, let 2 people catch fish, or one guy catch his fish and then replace him with another guy, because too many baits going back, it seems like they get spooked out and will just take off. And if they do that, you just got to go back to one guy, or just let them sit for 10 minutes or so, and then they'll come back up. Once they get spooked, you can get them back, but you just got to, again, have patience. You got to sit and let them wait. And I know that you learned some new tricks when you did a show recently.
So when we did a Sportsman's Adventure episode with Ray on from R&R Tackle, and one of the things that we did, same rules apply. We waited till the big ball of yellowtails were back behind the boat. But the difference is, a lot of guys will use shrimp, or they'll use little strips of ballyhoo, or they'll use little pieces of bonita.
Bonita skin, yeah.
And I said to Ray, Ray, one of our sponsors is Fish Bites. Can we try Fish Bites? So we took this flesh-colored Fish Bite strip.
Right.
And what Ray did is he cut the strip in half. And then he used his R&R Tackle jig when the current was really smoking. But then we turned around and we put it on so that it would go on there like so. And man, what would happen, Dave, is we would drift this back with the oats,
as it looks
and
like
as a
oats.
disguise, and we would really shake the chum bag. And what this did was it really made it look like it was just floating there, and free lining, and the little fish would come up and grab it here. And obviously, as it got wet, it started to dissolve. It started to put out its shrimp smell. And we caught more yellowtails, and even Ray, who's really tough at times to get to change, said there's no reason to use anything other than the Fish Bites, because they couldn't tear it off like they would a piece of ballyhoo or strip.
Yeah, so you don't spend a whole lot of time rebaiting.
Yeah, you had more opportunity. And That's one of the things we learned about fish bites. It really, really worked well. You can use it if you don't want to use a jig head with weight. You can certainly use a small eagle claw hook.
Yep, a little live bait hook. Number 2, like this one.
And a lot of the guys, what they're doing, instead of using a leader, what we would do is we can tie straight to the Diamond 12-pound.
Yeah, that's the Illusion.
The green Illusion, tie straight to it. You may get cut off. But
you get a lot more
you're going to
bites.
get 10 times the bites.
Right.
And so what I'm going to advise that I would give a guy that's watching, Dave, would be after you catch 5 or 6, take a second and retie, because there will be some abrasion on the 12-pound.
Right.
If you retie, you won't get cut off.
Right. Just keep a little fresh spot on there all the time.
But the key is get it back there. Don't stop feeding line. You'll know when you get the bite. It's going to get accelerated, as you saw when we fished with Randy.
It'll jump first and then take off. So keep an eyeball out. Watch the line.
You did a good job tonight stealing money again.
What?
Look at you guys. Last one.
I brought oats.
Right.
You brought oats.
Someone
You did
is
bring oats. He brought oats.
All right, our Star-Tron Central
Good
West
job.
captain has a lot to talk about for his final debut as the trout fisherman from Sarasota. So, Captain Page, send us off on our way to bigger and better bites.
You know, Yellowtail snapper can be found in our Star-Tron Central West region on springs, on wrecks, and on ledges. Pretty much general 100 to 140 feet of water is a good depth, and this is a really good time of year in our region. Light tackle, you can use a chicken rig, a knocker rig, or you can even, like I heard Dave mention, you can just use a little jig head, like you were saying, Rick, with a piece of fish bites or a little piece of squid. And, you know, you can start chumming when you get there to see if you can get them up off the bottom. You can get them up to the surface. It's a lot easier freelining them, and you have a better chance at landing them when you got the sharks and the kudas out there cutting you off. 12 to 20-pound line is good. No leader, like you said. Chris Seeger mentioned just tying directly to 12. And you are going to get cut off, but you're going to get way more bites. Squid, cut bait works fine. Small hooks like a 2 or a 1, Dave, like you said. And I've got some really cool picks tonight from, I'm just going to say who they're from Captain Jason Stock and from Captain Kaylin Olayer out of Stump Pass, who's a really good yellowtail fisherman. Staying offshore, the amberjacks in the fall, the bigger fish are fired up, and I'm getting good reports out there in anywhere from 90 feet out to 140 feet. Ledges and springs, big pinfish will get them up off the bottom, and they're another one. If you can chum them up, they'll hit surface plugs. But you don't want to lighten your leader with them. Got a nice photo tonight of a happy client with Captain Jason Stock. And moving inshore for the last time in the Star-Tron Central West, red fishing. We must be close to October because it is red in the bay. The water's been a little off with all the rain we've had, but they are really showing up in all the outer sandbars and barriers, Bull and Turtle Bay, Long Bar. I know it sounds like a broken record, but you can go there every year and the fish are going to be close. Now, the one thing that I want to mention is the schools won't sit still. So if you double up on them by throwing in, I like throwing a corked pinfish, a topwater plug, like a Jaywalker 120, while your couple people are fighting them, have another guy keeping a track on what the school's doing, because even if you chum them, they're not going to stop for very long. So keep your eye on them. I've got a really cool redfish photo tonight of Chris Morelli and his family. They were out fishing with me on the 26th Bay Crusher last week. And my last report of the year is mangrove snapper inshore. And the guys are still catching them, and this is late in the season to be catching them. But I think this rainwater has really kept them in the mouth of the passes and up on the flats. 18 inches is not uncommon. And light leader, again, a lot of the same tactics you use for the yellowtails, you want to use for these mangs. They're up on the grass flats as well. There you want to make longer casts. When they're in the deeper water, like the passes, the docks, the bridges, you can drop pretty much straight down. My last picture tonight is happy clients with Captain John Gunner out of the Manatee River. And I just want to give a big hats off and thanks to Startron and Daiquiri Deck for sponsoring my region, and to R&M Media and all the crew there at the studio, Rick, for another great year.
Thank you so much, Captain Page. We do have another Daiquiri Deck promotion to do, Bree, so we got to get that scheduled. We'll guys follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. That'll let you know when it's going to happen. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck Central West hotspots inshore. Look for the schools of redfish crashing bait on the incoming tide of the flats near Long Bar and Ringling Mansion Flats in Sarasota Bay. The pinfish under cork is a great setup, and then offshore, gag groupers starting to move in a little closer, so look for them holding on the ledges and hard bottom areas in 70 to 90 feet of water.
Twist my arm and take me to Daiquiri Deck. Don't.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
All right, we're checking in with our R&R Tackle Southeast and Alto Equipment Northeast captains next, plus seeing what our friend from Maverick Boat Group is up to when we return. And remember, fishing never stops in Florida, so follow us through the off season on all of our social media channels and our YouTube page, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Bahio Sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. R&R Tackle, from our tackle box to yours. Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer. Coast to coast, we've got you covered. And Garmin, plot your paradise.
Well, as you can see, joining me is Charlie Johnson from Maverick Boat Group. You know, Charlie, we've got a whole bunch of Pathfinders in our lineup. How many models do we actually have?
9 models.
9 different
Yep.
Pathfinder models. And I know that in 2023, we're going to be introducing 2 new ones.
That's
so why
right.
don't you tell everybody
Yeah,
about
we've introduced 2 new ones for this year. A 24 TRS, which is a boat that has a lot of family features, but you can still hardcore fish out of. And then a 24 Open, which is more of a hybrid style bay boat with an elevated front deck and then a open rear cockpit.
The TRS, what does that stand for?
Third row seating.
So
yeah, so the back seats. Yeah, and this boat also has the integrated forward seats, the flip up backrest, like on our 26 TRS, which has been so popular.
So primarily the hull is still the same, maybe a little bit wider.
Yeah, the hull's a brand new hull,
Okay.
other than from our old style 24 TRS. Okay, and a single stepped hull. And really quick boat, you know, and then higher sides, got about 5 inches more freeboard on the side. So
The features, though, as far as live wells, still the same size live wells, or do we have options going on there as well?
we have options going on both the boats. So on the 24 TRS, you have a 38-gallon live well back there, and then you can option it with the second 38-gallon live well. And then on the Open, you have a big 42-gallon well, center leaning post live well, and then a 27-gallon live well behind it. So tons of live well space on that boat.
So let's take a second. I'm throwing you a little curveball. Some of the features that guys buy, or some of the add-ons, do most guys getting them with T-tops, upper stations?
Yeah.
How would you rig it out?
It depends. You know, I see on the 24 Open, because that's more of an inshore hybrid style boat, and then near shore, offshore, you know, putting a second station on that, that's very popular. Going to be a very popular option on that boat. And then on the 24 TRS, just for shade, that hardtop's going to be really popular. And we're offering new shades, front and back, you know, Bimini shades that are really
that's cool.
Yeah, great for the sandbar.
All right, so Charlie, I know that there's a cool feature that you guys offer on the website, and that's the ability to build the boat.
That's
Why don't you
right.
tell people how they can go and do that?
Yeah, you just need to go to pathfinderboats.com and you go to, it's called Build Your Boat. You go on there and you can select all your features, and it'll build it, show a rendering of the boat as you build it, and then give you a final price.
Even color changes and color options.
Absolutely, yeah. And you press the submit button basically, and that goes to your local dealer, and you can print it out and you walk in there and say, this is the boat I want.
Oh, very good. So speaking of dealers, if somebody's interested, they have some questions, besides going on the website, where can they find out all the different dealer options or locator?
Well, on the website, you have a dealer locator where you can type in your zip code, so that'll tell you right where your local dealer is.
And what website is that?
On pathfinderboats.com.
Well, I think we just about covered it.
There we go.
Good job, Charlie. You got
Good
it.
seeing you, man.
You got through this.
I did.
I love it.
Thank you.
Charlie, you did,
Good job,
you
Charlie.
did great. Loving all those options. All right, yellowtailing in the R&R Tackle Southeast region is easy when you have Captain Jimbo Thomas by your side. So Jimbo, let us have it.
You got it, Brie, and hello, Rick, Dave, and Charlie. You know, there's plenty of yellowtail here in the southeast region, and the further south you get, the better that reef gets, and this is also a great time to target them, especially in the evenings when they bite the best, and also it's not near as hot outside. Now, the shallow reefs and patches, they hold lots of tails. Most of those are going to be on the small side, so most people like to keep to the deeper water where the fish average anywhere from 1 pound up to flags or 4 or more pounds. You want to look for hard bottom in the 40 to 80 foot range, and watch your depth machines for any signs of life. And then you want to get anchored up and start chumming. Some of the better areas are south of Fowey Light, like Triumph Reef, Long Reef, and Pacific Reef. And the key to catching yellowtails is lots of chum. Now, if you want to get really serious, you can mix some sand and oats with that chum. You can also add some glass minnows and silver sides to sweeten up the mixture. Now, the more chum, the better. You just got to chum like crazy. Now, I like to use a light spinning outfit with 12 to 15 pound test, 2-0 hook tied straight to the main line. And if you're using a high-vis line, you can put on a light fluoro or clear mono leader on top of that. Best baits are bonita, squid, cut ballyhoo. You want to cut those baits into small strips and drift them back in the chum. That's typically what works best. Or if the fish are staying down deep, you can put a small yellowtail jig, bait it with one of those strips, and drift it back into the chum. Ray Rocher's making yellowtail jigs now on our tackle. He says that the 1/32 to 1/8 ounce jigs are really hot right now, using white ones, yellow ones, or chartreuse green or pink. And he's having a lot of success fishing with those. Now, it might take some time to get those fish up to the surface, but a lot of times they'll get chummed up right behind the boat, and you can sit there and catch the crap out of them. Now, I do have a photo here. This is Wally Davidson with one of the many nice yellowtails caught aboard the Miss Brit earlier in the week, and they were fishing off Triumph Reef using those R&R yellowtail jigs. Now, staying offshore, a little further offshore, we're still finding dolphin. From one day to the next, the bite has been anywhere from just okay to good to excellent, depending on how lucky you get, what you find floating. The fish have been anywhere from 8 to 15 miles offshore, and most of them are being found under patches of sargassum or floaters, and there also has been some bird activity working on top of them. Try trolling small lures and feathers around the grass, or you can throw live baits like live pilchers or small blue runners, or cut bait, bonitas and ballyhoo around those larger patches of grass or floaters. And we've noticed that the fish have been staying down a little deep, especially in the mornings, so you might want to let your bait soak a little longer than usual, and if the fish are around, they'll pop up after a few minutes. And most of them have been schoolies, with a few fish up to 20 pounds caught in the last week. Now, moving inshore, snook fishing remains good in the inlets and also in the surf off the beaches. In the inlets, you want to fish with live baits like live herring, pilchards, pinfish, and croakers, or you can bounce jigs or soft plastics along the bottom. The evening bite has been the best. Snook have also been biting on both they've been biting both tides in the cuts, but the outgoing seems to be a little better. They've also moved off the beaches where they're being caught from both the shore and by boat. If you're shore-bound, try walking the beach in the early morning or late afternoon. You can cast live baits or green and white Bass Assassin 4-inch jerk baits or white bucktails. Cast them into the trough just off the beach. And if the seas are calm, that water's clear, you might be able to sight fish those snooks. They're cruising in the surf. Smaller fish are roaming in schools. The larger ones have been in singles or pairs. And then staying inshore as well, the weather's been perfect, at least in the mornings, for permit fishing the last few days. We've had calm seas, clear water, and good visibility. Permit fishing has been good around the Ragged Keys. Most of the fish have been in the 7 to 10 pound range. And then a little further south in the Caesars Creek area to Angelfish Creek, the fish have been a little bigger in the 10 to 15 pound range. Look for corally or hard bottom flats that have good tidal flow. Look for signs of life, sea turtles, stingrays. That's where the fish are going to be. You want to fish with silver dollar size crabs or crab pattern flies.
All right, Jimbo, thank you so much for all your hard work this year. We appreciate all your effort. we're going to go ahead and check out the What Are We Smoking Fish Strip hot spots from the southeast region. Jimbo says inshore, look for the snook and the tarpon in all the inlets and off of the beaches in the evening and early morning where they are eating live and artificial baits. And then offshore, cast live and cut baits to dolphin offshore under the birds, around the weed lines, and any floating debris.
I knew you were going to do that.
We've
been working together way too long.
Yep.
All right, if you're catching a yellowtail in the Alto Equipment Northeast region, well, let's just say it'll feed the family. Tommy, thanks for helping me host this season, and I got to tell you, we're going to miss your weekly drool-worthy photos. That's just what it is.
Thanks, Brie. Yeah, thanks for having me. You always make it easy, so I have to really thank you for that. But you're right, man. If you catch a yellowtail here in the Northeast region, we have a yellowtail fishery, but it's not the same as the southern regions. But the ones we catch, there's some big old mamma jammas. In fact, most of those yellowtails we catch, they're probably in that 7 to 8 pound range, which is a really big one. Now, most of those big yellowtails are caught during the cooler months, but they can be caught year round, and usually while you're fishing for those other snapper species. You're not necessarily targeting them. Now, right now, even though the ocean has been a little angry this week, the wind has been ripping out of the east-northeast, we do have a good mangrove and mutton snapper bite happening in the region. And there's been a few big yellowtails in that mix. I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges from J-Hook Fishing Charters. He tells me he's been chumming up the mangoes in that 120 to 140 foot depth. And just like last month, there's been some big mutton snappers in that mix as well. Now, Jason said leading up to this new moon we have coming up in a few days, the bite should be pretty good. Hopefully that ocean lays down a little bit. And the mangoes overall, they're slowing down a little from earlier in the summer, but there's still some really big ones hanging out. And Captain Jason did report there's an occasional big yellowtail mixed in there. So if you give it a go, you might just get lucky, hook into a big one. And speaking of big yellowtails, I've got a photo here. This is Captain Jason Hadge's son, Braden, with one of those huge Northeast Florida yellowtails that they caught east of St. Augustine.
Roll-worthy.
Now,
there you have it.
That's right. Then, now, also offshore, guys, since this is our last show of the year, I thought I'd talk sailfish because, you know what, our season is just about to get going as far as they're concerned. I spoke to a couple of our offshore captains about the sails. They tell me that they think after this little nor'easter that just rolled through, the sailfish will probably be showing up in better numbers as those fish are going to start migrating to the south. Now, our region can be a hot spot for some schooling sailfish heading into the next couple of months. The sails are going to be balling up the bait schools. You're going to want to look for birds, shearwater birds feeding. That's probably where you're going to find some sailfish. And the guys tell me that they'll be eating small baits, so you may want to downsize your leader a little bit and use some smaller ballyhoo to kind of match that hatch. Now, moving inshore, guys, what a great year of snook fishing we've had so far. The snook population seems to be exploding in my region. And this is one of the best times of year to target and catch them. As the mullet run gets into full swing, the snook are going to be a little more cooperative. They're going to start feeding a little more during the day. There's a ton of bait around. The bridges and docks from Daytona to Palm Coast have been loaded up with snook the past couple of weeks. You can target them with lures or with bait. I like to toss a saltwater assassin sea shad in a lighter color up current along the docks and pilings with a fairly heavy jig head, something in that 3/8 to maybe even half ounce range. Now, if you're out early or late during those lower light conditions, a topwater plug is going to work really good. Now, the Berkeley Jaywalker 120, man, that plug has been on absolute fire for my clients and I the past few weeks for the snook and the redfish. Now, on the live bait side of things, a jumbo-sized free-line live shrimp's going to work well. But you know what? A big finger mullet can really be the ticket, especially during this mullet run. The canals in Palm Coast have been holding good numbers of snook as well. And there's even been some big slot and even over slot snook being caught in the St. Johns River in Jacksonville. And speaking of slot-sized snook, I've got another picture here. This is Dottie with a nice snook that she caught with me in Palm Coast last week. And it's really fun to see those fish showing up like they are.
Sure is.
Now, also inshore, guys, as we finish up our season for the TV show, our flounder season, just like the sailfish, it's about to kick into high gear. We've had that strong east-northeast wind flow this week, and when that happens this time of year, those big flounder really start to show up in better numbers. Having a ton of mullet around doesn't hurt those fish showing up either. The inlets and the docks surrounding the inlets, they're going to account for some of the bigger flounder over the next couple of weeks, but there'll be some big ones in the creeks and flats as well. fishing around the low tide is going to have those fish grouped up in all of those areas. I'll use a medium to large size finger mullet for those bigger fish especially. And I'll have my clients rigged with either a heavy saltwater assassin jig head or a fish finder rig with enough weight to hold the bottom. I've said this a bunch of times this year, just make sure, let that flounder chew. Once you get that bite, got to let him chew for a second or two. And I've got one last picture here for the season, guys. This is my buddy Roy Hendricks with a huge doormat flounder that he caught in Jacksonville. Hope we see a bunch more of those coming up here.
That sure is a doormat. I'd love to catch one that big, Tommy. We need to talk about how we can make that happen. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone. Hot spots from the Northeast region. Tommy says, fish the mullet run, tarpon, redfish, flounder, jacks, and others are just smashing the mullet schools as they come through all the area inlets. And then offshore, the mixed bag of snappers. It can be grouped up on the new moon this weekend in 120 to 140 feet of water.
Smashing, that's the second smashing I've heard in the hot spots. All right, the Garmin Panhandle region captain is prepping his report for our season finale coming up next. And Dave is prepping his Taco Marine new products at the CCA workbench for their big debut.
They're all prepped.
They're prepped and ready.
And ready to go.
Spotlight.
Spotlighting on the nice Fathom 2 here. 2-speed. Gotta have 2 speeds.
2 speeds.
Fast and slow.
Yep, we'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Fenwick, feel everything. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Taco Marine Trolling the Edge new products. Dave, I threw you.
You got it all in there.
I threw you a curveball. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're start off here with the Saltwater Assassin, the Artemis Shad. This is a new bait from Saltwater Assassin. I've already had tremendous luck with it in freshwater. I know it's made for the saltwater, but I've used it in the freshwater when that black the black shad over there. But it's a big bait. It's got a big paddle and a big profile. So and it's really limber, but still strong. I mean, it rolls really nicely, and that paddle tail just goes crazy.
Yeah, the thinness here, but like this is one of the new colors. This is called Glow Gold, so this part glows.
Right.
They also brought out 5 or 6 different new colors. We have the Laguna Shrimp, which is not new, but then we have the new Twisted Peacock, Dave, as well as the Green Hornet in this Artemis Shrimp.
Shad.
So Artemis Shad, I'm sorry, yes. Thank you for keeping me right.
No worries.
Look at this color here, Doug. This is just a beautiful, it's called the Green Hornet. For, this time of year, you got mullet migrating down both coasts.
Yeah.
What a way to match the hatch.
Yep, they will eat that up.
Where do we go to find out more about it?
BassAssassin.com.
There it is, guys. Just roll with it.
Next, we got the Penn Fathom 2 there. That's the FTH 260 NLD2, which, means it's a Penn Fathom 60. Yeah, with a 2-speed. It's got a 5.1 to 1 for the high and a 1.6 to 1 for the low. Once you want to get cranking down on it, holds 340 yards of 50-pound mono, which is 820 yards of 80-pound braid. You'll never run out of line. 1-piece aluminum frame and side plates on there. 5 stainless steel ball bearings. Line capacity rings. It's got all the good stuff. It's got little lugs up there. You can take off if you want. You can leave those lugs up there. I would leave them on, but you can take them off. And go to penfishing.com to get a Fathom 2.
All right.
Next, real quick, we got the Scoozies. These are the men's marine shoe, 6.3 ounces, incredibly smooth. That's the Del Marina. Really nice shoe. What you can't show you on TV is how light they are.
3.6 ounces.
6.3 ounces. Incredibly light. Smooth stretch binding on here. Fast dry mesh. It's got nice leather uppers as well. really nice shoes. They also make a Stingray, which is a
Non-skid bottoms.
non-skid, a little bit
Non-marking.
Yep, non-marking as well. They got little rubber tips on there to keep them from messing up too. That's the Stingray. And it's extremely lightweight as well. Nice support. So get you some of those at ScoozyShoes.com. Next, we have this Garmin. This is a Garmin Fusion. Fusion is a Garmin company now. It's the Fusion Signature Series 3 Marine Wake Tower. And it comes with two of these big speakers, these 8.8-inch, 330-watt speakers. They are loud and proud. They got LED lighting inside, designed to true marine standards. All the components in there are really high-end. You know, they've got really nice connections and everything.
Yep.
It's not going to, you know, back in the day, the first thing we always said, what's going to break first on your boat? It's going to be the radio.
Right.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No, they're really nice. Go to Garmin.com to look at one of those. And last but not least, we got the electric Big Kahuna aluminum cart over here. Starts with a Big Kahuna base wagon, 27 by 45 inches. This was an electric model.
Show people how it works, Dave.
It's got a little controller up here with 3 different speeds. And it'll hold 300 pounds. It's got a reverse as well, and 300 pounds. And you could just put all your stuff in there and just go for a walk down the beach with that.
How about that?
Isn't that neat?
I think I would want to learn how to drive it, and I want to sit in it with my cooler in the back and
go to
just chill.
kahunawagons.com. They make all kinds of carts. They can actually make if you already have a Kahuna cart, they can give you an electric kit to put on it. They have all kinds of accessories at kahunawagons.com.
I like it, Dave.
Got them all in.
Man, you did. Good job for your last and final. Until next year, of course.
I hope so.
I
never know.
I had to clear that up. You all saw he's starting to tear up on me.
You never know.
That, Brie?
You never know if
Until
that
next
contract's
year.
coming.
Staying on that note, we're doing a bait and switch when it comes to Yellowtail in the Garmin Panhandle region. So, Captain Pat, give it to us straight.
Hey, Brie, I tell you what, yellowtails are sometimes caught in the Garmin Panhandle region, but not in enough numbers to target them. So really, they're kind of a very cool bycatch, I guess. But amberjack, on the other hand, are being caught in good numbers and remain open for harvest. You're going to find them on large, high-relief bottom structures, both natural or artificial. And I particularly like the metal structures, like the barges, the tugboats, the bigger sunken ships like the Oriskany, the Ozark. The deeper spots typically have the bigger fish, so hunt them in 200-plus feet of water, and even deeper, I mean up to 400 feet of water. Live hardtails, finfish make good baits, but hands down, a small live bonita is probably the best bait. The downside is it's really difficult to keep a bonita alive in a live well. So if you have the ability, you know, the bonitas are going to be a perfect bait. But really, basically, remember, a lively, active bait is way better than a lethargic, lazy bait. The jacks, they like to chase their meal down, so use a long leader and let your bait roam. And then also deep jigging is also very effective with speed jigs and slow pitch jigs. Do it on spinning rods, drop it down below the jacks where they're showing in your machine, and jig it up through the water column where they are. The jacks are running 25 to 50 pounds, and I think they're open till the end of the month here. Staying offshore, the yellowfin and blackfin tunas are being caught at the deepwater rigs. Best bite typically first light and then late in the afternoon into the evening. They're catching the tunas by either chunking, jigging, live baiting, and also on the troll. Jigging, you can usually get blackfins pretty good, and they make great chunk baits also using those speed jigs and those slow pitch jigs. Choice live baits, if you're going to live bait for the tunas, are blue runners and herrings. Nose hook your baits with a small circle hook, and sometimes a leader as light as 50 pounds, although it's, some of those yellowfins are running 100-plus pounds, so, try to use the heaviest leader you can get away with, but still get bites. You're usually going to find them up current of the platform, sometimes quite a bit up current. Trolling ballyhoo, either naked or skirted, small dusters, and cedar plugs also work well. Blackfins are running up to about 25 pounds. The yellowfins are, like I said, up to and over 100 pounds, and some of them are quite large. Moving inshore, redfishing continues to be on fire in the Panhandle. The redfish are bunched up in the passes, and they're readily caught on live baits with croakers, grunts, pinfish, cigar minnows, all being great live baits. Outgoing tide is favored. Fish are baits on the bottom with a Carolina rig and 30 to 40 pound leader. But there's also some fish along the beaches where they can be sight fished. The water along our Gulf Coast beaches is cleaned up quite a bit. So you can see them for one thing, but also that clear water and that light bottom, that white sand bottom, use a light colored bait. A Bass Assassin Shad and Pearl is a great bait, but it really just the lighter, more natural colors to kind of match the bottom. And additionally, there's an insane redfish bite happening in eastern Choctawhatchee Bay right now around Hogtown Bayou area. These big reds are feasting on menhaden. They can be caught with live baits, dead baits, lures. It's pretty much a daily occurrence early in the morning and late in the afternoon. Sometimes they get up on top and just go crazy. There's a photo of Adam Evans of Birmingham with a nice Destin Bridge redfish caught on a croaker this week. And Rick, you've been up here in the fall. You know how the redfishing is.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's how it is. Everything in the Panhandle's awesome, if you ask me, Pat. All right, tell me what else.
Well, mangrove here and spay.
All right, I'm ready to
finally,
move.
Rick, the mangrove snappers are being caught in good numbers, throughout the Panhandle Bay. They're definitely structure-oriented fish, so you're going to find them around bridge and dock pilings, reef balls, rock piles. Live or fresh dead bait is the way to go. A live shrimp, a small pilchard, a small menhaden, all excellent baits. To consistently catch mangroves, stealth is the key. Mangroves are really wary sometimes, very hard to get a bite from. So go with a light leader, sometimes as low as 10-pound fluorocarbon. Use a small wire circle hook and a split shot or no weight if you can get away with it. They're excellent eating. The mangroves in the bays are running up to about 12 inches. They're not big fish, but they're definitely keeper fish. And I want to shout out to everybody in the Panhandle region. Thank you so much for supporting us and also for sending in pictures all season. It's been a good ride.
All right, thank you so much, Pat. Keep up the good work. We'll see you next year pretty soon, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says inshore for redfish, fish the falling tide in the inlets using those live baits, those croakers he's talking about, and then offshore, Spanish mackerels along the second bar, trolling spoons and dusters for the max.
All right, we've got the Real Edge in Central East and Discover Crystal River Northwest regions, giving it all when we return. And remember to keep up with everything fishing in Florida during the off season. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures, rewatch your favorite reports along with rigs and techniques segments, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy.
And don't forget those audio reports.
And those audio reports.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Fenwick, feel everything. Strike Zone Fishing. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Brie, a lot of times you go to a CCA banquet and you see all these people and all this money being made. I think there's some stuff that we need to set the record straight of how it all works at a banquet.
All right, let's see it.
Let's check it out.
And if you have a jack of diamonds, you are a winner.
You ever wonder where all the money goes from a Coastal Conservation Association banquet? I certainly do. First, let's talk about the ticket to the banquet. $35 goes towards your yearly membership unless you are a CCA Life, Heritage, or Legacy member. It's very important to renew your membership every year by attending your local banquet. The rest of the dollars goes towards the great food, venue, and the open bar. So as you can see, there's very little money made at the CCA banquet from the proceeds of the ticket to the banquet. I'm sure now you have a better understanding of what the banquet ticket covers. CCA raffles, silent and live auctions is where the money is made. And that's why it's so important to support those parts of the banquet. And besides, where else can you buy a ticket to win a boat? Now that we've covered how CCA banquets make money and continue to grow membership, you may be wondering what Coastal Conservation Association board members do with it. Well, the board directs the net proceeds to a variety of departments. Coastal Conservation Association has deployed 6 ships to make artificial reefs. They've deployed 6,214 tons of concrete and rock to create 24 additional artificial reefs, deployed 58 tons of recycled oyster shell, restored 3+ miles of shoreline, and deployed over 30 oyster reefs. They also have deployed over 12 million clams and over 40,000 seagrasses and mangroves. They've removed over 75 tons of trash. They've restocked 20,000 trout, 5,150 snook, and 110,000 redfish. As you can see, Coastal Conservation Association has been busy on a lot of fronts, from fisheries management to restocking, cleaning up our shorelines, planting seagrasses and mangroves, deploying oysters and clams to continue to help the fight for cleaner water. It's not cheap to do all these things, and you and I certainly can't do it ourselves. So the next time you are asked to buy a ticket to a banquet or you're attending one, you know that the good people at Coastal Conservation Association got your backs and have invested $8.5 million back into habitat projects and cleaner water throughout the state of Florida.
So, any questions?
I think you covered it all, but it is very important to know where your money's going and what's being done with it.
Especially in today's world.
Exactly.
Exactly.
All right, well, it's time to get chummy in the Real Legends Central East region with Captain Jim Ross, so we won't keep him waiting any longer. Jim, thank you for holding down the fort with me this season a few times. It was lots of fun. You did a great job. We'll see you next year.
Well, thank you, Brie. It's easy to do it with you. It's just one of those things where you make the show go so smoothly. I mean, it wasn't me, it was all you, and so I appreciate you guys' patience. And the guys and gals in the studio do a fantastic job of making us on set look a whole lot better. So with that, what we need to talk about is the yellowtail snapper. And we do catch yellowtail snapper here in the Central East region, mainly on the 70 to 90 foot reefs. We don't get a lot of them though. It's one of the species that typically is more found in the South Florida regions, but we do find the ones that are up here are generally larger. Most of our fish up here start at about 2 pounds, and some of them go well over 5 pounds. So if you're anchoring and chumming on the reefs, and just like you would in any other part of the state, be patient, let the chum work, let it bring the fish up. The other thing is you'll get mangrove snapper mixed in, really a lot of good mangrove mixed in with when you're chumming for those yellowtails. So make sure that you're just using small pieces of bait, little glass minnows, little pieces of shrimp for the yellowtails. But if you start to see some of those mangroves come in there, bigger chunks of bait will actually be able to target those out of those fish that are up behind the boat. And if you have live pilchards or live finger mullet, man, those are dynamite as well. Use about a 1/0 size circle hook, and then 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon leader. That seems to work best. And always keep a jig handy for a cobia, because cobia love to come up to these chum slicks on these same reefs and wrecks in my region. So just keep an eye out for that. The other species that we have on those reefs right now are those 60 to 90 foot reefs, are the king mackerel. Now we're going to get some swells from Fiona, and that is going to that's probably going to dirty the water up, probably make those fish go much deeper. In fact, you may find them out on the 180 foot ledge after this swell comes through. But slow trolling with pogies or live mullet, which are everywhere along the beaches right now, they're very easy to get. Or if you can't catch them, get some frozen cigar minnows and slow troll them on a live bait, wire stinger rig, and you can get kings in the 10 to 30 pound range. I've got a picture here that Captain Ron Hatcher sent me of one of his customers, Seth, and this fish actually ate a little weak fish that they were reeling up off of one of the nearshore reefs, and they were lucky enough to get that fish to stay on like 17 pound test and got it to the boat. So you never know where they're going to show up, especially with the mullet run going on. Now, speaking of the mullet run, we're going to go inshore for snook. And I'm telling you right now, it is a fiasco. It is a field day for guys that like to go fishing, because it is a fiasco in the surf right now. The snook are turning cartwheels. They're turning cartwheels at the jetties. They're blowing up mullet. And, anything that even remotely looks like a finger mullet right now, or even a medium-sized mullet, is getting blown up. So you can also use pilchards and croakers, but if you're throwing artificials, that Artemis shad that we showed earlier on the show, fantastic thing to throw along jetties, especially at Sebastian and at Canaveral. You'll get those fish to eat those at night. And then also work the shadow lines of the bridges like the North and South Bridge at New Smyrna, and you're going to find those inside snook are blowing up on mullet as well, especially at night. I've got a picture here of one that Don Petrucci caught with me the other day, and that's the typical size snook we're catching right now at Canaveral.
Nice.
Not bad.
Now my last species is tarpon, and it's been another incredible week of tarpon fishing on the near coastal waters this week. The Real Legends region is full of tarpon. They are just from the Ponce Inlet all the way to Sebastian, in the rivers, in the lagoon, along the beaches, there's tarpon everywhere. You're going to want to use a slow trolled pogie, croaker, or mullet on a 7/0 or 8/0 size circle hook. Look for those smaller fish actually that have moved out of the inside, and they've actually gotten into the surf and beaten on the finger mullet as well, especially around the tip of Cape Canaveral. A lot of those tarpon in that area are in that 25 to 50 pound range. And in the lagoon systems, we actually had one hooked up today on a finger mullet. We were pitching finger mullet for snook, and then all of a sudden here comes about an 80-pound tarpon that eats it on our little 4,000 size reel. And of course, you know how that ended up. Not like we wanted it to. But most of the fish right now are running an average of about 60 to 75 pounds. But there's fish anywhere from 20 to all the way to 150 pounds. And anywhere where you find bait pods in the region, you're going to find tarpon. I've got two pictures here. One is of Joe Daly. That's a nice little tarpon that we brought to the boat side. And if you look in the background, you can see very, very close to the beach in those mullet pods. And then a second picture here, I've got of Terry that we put this nice fish to the boat as well. So there's tons of tarpon out there, tons of snook. Get out there, fish the finger mullet. That run is going strong, and it is as good as it gets right now.
All right, Jim, thank you so much for filling in for us this year. We appreciate you, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots for inshore. He says the fall mullet run is going strong along the beaches. Look for the redfish and the snook, and all the Central East region jetties look for use live finger mullet and croakers on a knocker rig for those guys, as well as offshore tarpon and sharks along the near coastal waters. Drift or slow troll live mullet or pogies for fish up to 150 pounds. Welcome to the brews.
Welcome to it. All right, it's time to get ready for the 2022 Hunt for Redfishers presented by Full Tail Outdoors, October 8th and 9th with the captain's meeting on Friday, October 7th. The tournament region is from Ponce Inlet to Sebastian, and daily check-in is at 6 p.m. with the Off-Water Hub event, captain's meeting, and awards at the Titusville Civic Center. There will be cash prizes for pro, amateur, and youth divisions in first, second, and third places, and all proceeds benefit our local community to combat homelessness and addiction recovery partnership with Crew 29 and Walkabout Recovery. For more information and to sign up, go to huntforredfishers.com. All right, our Discover Crystal River Northwest region is pretty fond of the yellowtail life, so let's hear how Captain Jeff Hageman likes to catch them and, more importantly, eat them.
Oh, there's nothing better than a whole fried yellowtail snapper. Coming out of the fryer. That's one of my favorites to eat. We've actually got a really good yellowtail snapper fishery in the southern part of my region. Most of our fish come from depths of anywhere from 60 to 120 feet over any kind of major structure. Wrecks. We got a pipeline connection that runs all the way up into the Gulf. It's really good. They get on those on the connections out there. Any kind of hard bottom, and all the techniques that you've been hearing throughout the show works good. All those southern Florida techniques work really good. Anchor up tide of the structure or hard bottom. Chum bag over the side, rolled oats. We actually use some dried chum we mix in with our rolled oats. Kind of gives it that menhaden oil in there too. Brings them up real good off the bottom and brings them up out of the water column. Makes them a lot easier to catch because we have a lot of predators up here that like to eat them too. Goliath, grouper, barracuda, and sharks. Our fish run a little bigger than excuse me, fish in the south. Our fish average anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 3 pounds with some bigger fish mixed in. 10 to 12 pound mono, smallest hook you can get away with, hit with a little piece of cut shrimp or cut sardine, free line back in the tide. And I've got a photo here of a nice yellowtail caught recently in St. Pete.
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Dude. All right.
Yeah, we get some good ones up here.
Yes, sir. Let's talk about Big Nasty.
Captain Rob, Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete. The wahoo bite's been really good right now. He's been finding them anywhere from 100 to 150 feet, throwing wrecks or put a free-lined blue runner out the back while you're anchored up grouper fishing. and make sure you use that wire leader. And I've got a photo here from Jason Stocks with a beautiful West Coast Wahoo.
Nice. All right.
Moving
what else?
on.
Yeah, let's go.
Moving on inshore, Captain Jason Lineberger with Ruthless Charters out of Tampa Bay reports a good redfish bite in the middle of Tampa Bay right now. Lots of overslot fish are being caught on the beginning of the outgoing tide. Cut bait has been the key with him. Moving a little bit further south in South Tampa Bay and in the St. Pete area, Captain Jamie Goodwin of Go Florida Fishing reports a really good redfish bite too in the potholes and mangrove shorelines with good overhang mangrove and around oyster bars. He's using cut bait also and live bait to get them out of those overhanging branches. Moving up the coast, Captain Mario Costello of Go Talltail Charters at a plantation on Crystal River reports big schools of redfish right now around the mangrove shorelines around Crystal River. The schools have been anywhere from a dozen fish to nearly 100 fish. And he's seen multiple schools of fish out there. He's working the creek mouths and cuts just past low tide and using both mud minnows and live select shrimp on a 4/0 trocar circle hook. And I got a couple great photos from Captain Jamie's charter this week with some young ones with a couple beautiful redfish. That's some great photos right there and great times with those young ones.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Smiles as big as the sun, man. I love it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the snooks.
The snook bite remains strong throughout the southern part of the region, both incoming and outgoing tides. The stronger part of the tides have been the best beaches and passes in the southern part of my region, from Anclote on the outer mangrove islands and barrier islands up by Crystal River. Live pinfish and sardines have been the go-to baits.
All right.
And sorry to go, guys.
All right, man.
I wish we were doing another show after this one.
All right, Hag. We'll see you soon. We'll come up and do dinner. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots from the Northwest region. Jeff says that the redfish on the top of the tide, try cut ladyfish, live sardines, and pinfish have been working well. And then offshore, the gag grouper bite has been consistent in 90 to 250 feet of water off of the wrecks, piles, and ledges. Pinfish on a standard bottom rig is going to be the best bait of choice.
Okay, well, our last region of the season is coming up on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. So get ready, Casa Vieja Southwest anglers. We're chumming at you next. You're gonna miss my jokes, I know.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shallow Sport. Penn. Let the battle begin. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. And Taco Marine. Troll the Edge.
Today's Power Pole tip is certainly one of the most frequently asked questions that I get. A lot of people say, Captain Rick, I want to ask you, when I decide to get a power pole, do I want to get 2 poles or do I want to get 1 pole? Now here's what you need to understand, the pros and the cons of making this decision. When you have 1 pole, the one thing that happens is that you're going to always seem to drift downwind or down current. And the great thing about having twin power poles is that it allows you to have the great stopping power that you have when you have 1, but you're also going to have a lot more control. It's going to allow you to lock into position and the current won't change your position. Having 2 poles will let you key in on exactly where you need to be so that when you're targeting that fish, you can create the most perfect presentation. So 1 power pole anchor is always going to stop and hold your boat, but 2 will give you an added advantage for serious angling, just like the pros. The next tip is about the 3-speed control that you have, and that's today's power pole tip.
2's better than 1.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that myself. 2's better than 1. We're so on the same page.
Synced. We are
Synced
so synced.
after 26 weeks.
and
This is it.
plus 8 years. Our Casa Vieja Southwest
9.
Region Captain, Ron Houston, is always on his A game. So thanks for being such an all-star this season, Ronnie. Close us out for 2022.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure being here. Second of all, I got to thank all the captains who've worked with me. Not only that, it's been a pleasure working with all the great sponsors. And I got to give a special shout out to Steve Wilson from Berkeley. It's been a pleasure working with him. The man's on the ball. And I love to work with him as far as working with the hard baits this year. And watch out for next year. You know, yellowtails can be caught throughout the region, targeting structure, towers, wrecks, artificial reefs, rock piles, and the variety of areas of hard bottom and ledges. Now, depths are going to vary, but you can start as close as 40 and work your way beyond. Now, yellowtails also can be caught day or night, and at times, late spring when the weather's better through fall, the full boom bite is great in most cases. But, like always, chumming is the best way to get them grouped up, whether it be box chum, cut pilchard, herring, just to name a few, but then also the leaders. Cleaner water, you can go as light as 20-pound fluorocarbon, and when the water gets a little dirty after a front or something like that, you can go up to 40-pound in dirtier water. A variety of options to catch them would be flatlining, adding split slots, jig heads, bright-colored 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce, or simply, if the fish can't come up, use chicken rigs on the bottom. And I got a prime example of a bucket load of yellowtails caught by wild hog charters to the north. Second species is going to be the Spanish mackerels. You know, with a little cooler water and all the rain we've had through the region, reports from the beach line out to 20 miles on most noted wrecks and artificial reefs, holding fish in groups as well as bait pods. While you're running, look for them. Groups of bird is a good way of finding them. Once you get into some of these areas, I'm talking about simply using bucktails, silver spoons, gotcha lures, or live shrimp and pilchards will catch these fish. Now, if you do find yourself in one of these situations where the Spanish mackerels are grouped up, there's nothing like dropping down a large live threadfin or a blue runner, or simply trolling around the outskirts of the Spanish mackerel. You might wind up with a nice kingfish. The inshore side, the redfish. All through the region right now, the bite is heating up as we get into fall. To the north, Sanibel to Stump Pass. Now your lower tides, fish schooling up on the flats and intercoastal edges, especially in areas of mullet. Look for the fish to be pushing on top. Same goes for the Estero Bay area. And to the south, Naples to Lossman's River, intercoastal docks on low water, and then on outer Gulf Islands. Now your higher tides, your points in Deadwood, lower water, your top water walk the dog lures, your Berkeley hijackers and gold spoons, Bass Assassin 4-inch sea shads, and on your higher water you want to be using live pilchards, pinfish and cut baits, especially on knocker rigs. You can use crabs, mullets, and ladyfish and pinfish. Got a prime example of some fish recently caught. One was by little Angie. I took her out for her first trip. First cast, first trip, she got her a redfish. And the second picture is going to be a fish I just recently caught a couple days ago on the Berkeley hijacker. Last species is going to be the snook. Things are starting to change, though, right now due to the time of year and all the rain. Although fish are still on the beaches and passes, fish are starting to work their way up the Peace River, Caloosahatchee River, and the middle bays from the backcountry, from Naples to the Everglades backcountry. Now, you can still catch fish with good moving tides, especially with live pilchards and pinfish, but as these fish start moving to their fall and wintertime spots, flies, chugging lures, prop baits, topwater walk the dog lures, and Bass Assassin 5-inch dye dappers and 5-inch sea shads will catch these fish. Got a prime example of some fish recently caught, one in the Everglades backcountry, and a nice fish I just caught again a couple days ago on what else? Berkeley hijacker. It's been a great season. Looking forward to next season. Keep an eye out for what's going on in our weekly reports, and we'll keep you updated.
So, Ronnie, what do you got going on the off season? What are you planning on doing in the next few months?
Well, I got some tournaments I'm going to be fishing, but I'm thinking about making a little comeback on some redfish. I'm trying to figure out which pro tour I want to fish. I'm looking at the schedule, see what can accommodate me. And with a guy like me up in age, I'm looking to get out and still be competitive and try to whip up some of them young guys.
Nice.
All right, man, I love it. It sounds like the old dudes are going to try to make a comeback. Me and Paige are getting some stuff lined up as we speak ourselves. Thank you so much for all your hard work each week, Ronnie. We're going to go and take a look at the catty can hotspots from the Southwest region. Captain Ron says inshore, tarpon at nighttime from Cape Coral to Punta Gorda along the intercoastal docks, seawalls, and bridge spans. And then if you want to go offshore, the cobias and the wrecks and artificial reefs throughout the Southwest region. The fish are migrating back from the north, so check it out.
The OGs are making a comeback for 2023. That's what I'm hearing, huh?
Yeah, man.
I'm scared already. Well, that's it. We're closing another fantastic season with great reports and even better catches. But make sure you stay with us to hear how you can stay in touch with us throughout the off season when we come back on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Enjoy the water and your single engine.
Well, here it is. Thank you for fishing with us this season. And remember, until we are back on the air in April 2023, send us your big catch photos on Instagram and Facebook. And you can rewatch our reports, rigs and technique segments, and new fishing adventure videos, plus pro tip videos on our YouTube page. Captain Rick Murphy, what else is there? Am I missing anything?
The audio reports.
The audio reports. Yes, those are also very important.
Each week, the guys will be doing audio reports a minimum of 3 times a week. And that'll also keep you abreast as to what's going on in your region, as well as maybe a region that you might be visiting.
There you go.
Because a lot of times dudes from Orlando, they may go to the West Coast one weekend, go to the East Coast the next weekend.
That's a good thing about living in the middle.
Or they may be driving down to the Keys. As we know, Keys is a pretty popular destination.
Yes, it is. Well, the reports keep going, and special thanks to our sponsors, captains, and all of our crew, everyone at RM Media, and especially you guys, our viewers, for tuning in every week and being such loyal fans. We love you guys. So until next year, 2023, get outside, catch those
time
fish,
for one of these,
and make some memories. We're gonna cheers to a great season.
Bye, guys. Another one.